Hi everyone, it's me, Arielle, and it's Wednesday Warriors. I hope everyone had a really good holiday week, stress-free, hopeful for the new year, and I hope that this week is going well for you as well. This week's topic is going back to college or work. Are you ready? I think the first thing to ask yourself in wondering if you're ready to go back to college or to work is, can you eat your meals throughout the day while focusing on something else? Or do you need to put all your focus on eating meals at this point in your recovery? If you feel that you can do your work and not be too preoccupied with eating or with wondering what you're going to eat for lunch or for breakfast or for dinner, if that's how your work schedule works out. If you can go to college and you can study and you can go to class and you can do all the work that that entails and still eat your meals, then I think you're okay. But if you're too preoccupied with what's going in your mouth that you're not able to focus on college or you're not able to focus on your job, then I don't think you are ready. Because recovery, when it comes to the physical eating part of it, can take a lot of focus and a lot of work. And sometimes, depending on where you're at in recovery, it's just too hard to worry about a job or to worry about school when you're already putting all your energy into a meal plan. Once you have the meal plan down and you're doing well with it and you're not rethinking or overthinking everything that you're putting into your mouth, then you can start adding stuff. Perhaps if you're a college student, you can go back part-time and not full-time until you feel like you have more room on your plate to go that route. Same thing with work. If you can work part-time instead of full-time, that might be a benefit to you. I know obviously a lot of jobs may not work with you, may not work with your recovery, but if you are someone that doesn't currently have a job and you can look to first work part-time before working full-time, it can sort of help you get back in the swing of things without overwhelming you all at once. Little steps are really key. The next thing you want to ask yourself is, will working or will going to school prevent me from eating when I should be eating? If your school schedule or your work schedule is going to make it too easy for you to skip meals, it's not something you should be doing if you are at a point in your recovery where gaining is important or where just maintaining is important or where following a meal plan is something that you need to work on. Eating right and eating the right amount is always going to be a huge part of recovery. So if you can't do this while working or while going to school, you need to change something. That might mean changing your school schedule or changing your work schedule, going to a different school, maybe a place closer to home where you're not living on campus, or working somewhere else if the job just doesn't allow you to recover the way you need to recover. But something has to give if you're not able to give the attention to the actual eating that you need to give in order to stay on a recovery path. And these sorts of things can be really hard to deal with because most of the time we just want to say, no, I'm not doing that. I need to finish school. I want to finish in 4 years. That's the end of story. Or I need to work because I need money. I need to support my family. I need to pay for school. I need to pay for my car. I need to pay rent. You know, it's so easy to have so many reasons why we shouldn't recover, why we should stay in school or work, or why we should go back to school or work before we're ready. But the point is that if you go back to work or if you go back to school before you are ready, you're just going to have to stop working and stop going to school at some point later down the road, because if you're not ready, it's going to show. It's going to come back to bite you in the ass. It's going to come back at you, and it's going to come back at you hard. And you are going to really hurt your recovery. You're going to basically cut off one of its legs, and your recovery isn't going to go anywhere. It's going to stay stagnant. It's just going to sit there. You're not going to be moving forward, and it might not happen right away. You might go back to school or work, and you might think, oh, this is okay. I can kind of do this. But it's going to catch up with you if you don't really sit there and ask yourself, am I ready to go back before you actually go back? This is just about being honest with yourself, guys. It's just about having a conversation with yourself before you do something. It's about looking before you leap. It's about thinking before you act. And the answer could very well be that you are ready to go back to school, or you are ready to go back to work. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that either. If you're strong in your recovery, or if you're at a point where work would be helpful to you, or school would be helpful to you, or that those two things maybe wouldn't be helpful, but they wouldn't be a hindrance either, that's perfectly fine. I mean, by all means, go for it if it works for you. The point is, you need to have this conversation with yourself before you commit to going back to school or to work. You need to ask yourself this question, and you need to answer yourself honestly. Don't let the part of your mind that says, I need to go to school or I need to go to work, just overshadow everything else. Really write things down if you have to. Have a conversation with another person. Even maybe have a conversation with a person you know is on board with you staying away from work or school for a little bit longer, and then have a conversation with someone who you know is on board with you going back to school or going back to work, and then you have the two conversations pitted against each other, and you can kind of be the ball between those, and you can see where your feelings most lie without being defensive about it. This is something that we all can do, and I know that when I was a college student, I really needed more treatment than I got, and I really needed more treatment than I allowed myself to get, and I used a ton of my resources. Don't get me wrong, I saw a nutritionist, I went to 2 different therapists, I did group therapy, I did a lot for my recovery, but I think I would have benefited from some more intensive treatment, and I just had it in my head that I needed to finish college in the 4 years, and I didn't want to graduate any later than any of my friends. I wanted to stay on the road I was on. I wanted to keep overachieving, and I have that perfectionist nature, and I just didn't want to give it up. But in retrospect, there is a very big part of me that wishes I would have given it up, or I would have at least taken a short break. And maybe I would have had to work a little harder later on, but at least I would have been in a better mindset to do so, and my body would have been more physically healthy, and it would have really helped me in college instead of making me work harder and go that extra mile to complete the things I needed to complete because I was just so tired and so overwhelmed and so unhealthy and malnourished. Are you ready? Only you can answer that question truthfully. There will be therapists, there will be doctors, there will be parents, there will be spouses, there will be friends that will tell you, yes, you are ready. No, you're not ready. You can listen to other people all you want, but only you know the true answer. You know the truth. You know if you're ready to go back, and you have to ask yourself, and you have to let whatever the answer is be okay. If the answer is yes, but you're scared to go back to school or work, let that be okay. Say, yes, I'm ready, but I'm scared. And deal with the fear one day at a time. And get your foot back in there, get your foot back in the door, and see where it takes you. And you'll be okay. Repeat to yourself, I will be okay. I can do this. I can do this. And if the answer is no, I'm not ready, I'm really not ready, let that be okay. And you might really be angry at yourself for not being ready yet. Or you might think you're a failure because you're not ready to go back to school or work, but you're not ready. Let that be okay. You have to make peace with the things like this. You have to accept it. And if you don't accept it, you're really hindering your recovery. You know, you can change your life course whenever you want to. Just because you have wanted to do something by a certain date and time doesn't mean that's the way it has to be. You can change your life. You can change the path that you're on. You can change the destination that's at the end of that path. You can do whatever you want. It's your life. There are going to be obstacles. There are going to be things that are a hassle, like money, like scheduling, like location, time. Of course, it's going to be a pain. It's going to be a pain in the ass, and you might just have to suck it up sometimes and say, this really sucks. This isn't how I wanted it to go. But that's life. And the sooner that you can accept these things, and the sooner that you can make a path that really works for you and that really works for your recovery along with you, the better off you're going to be. Remember that being ready for something as big as school or work is a really hard thing to decide. And if you're having a hard time figuring out if you are ready, you're not alone, you're not crazy. It's very, very difficult. Listen to your heart, listen to your gut, and do everything you're doing for yourself. Live for yourself. I will see you next week. Bye.